You know what it is you're a goddamn communist. Hi everyone, welcome to Goats and Cookies episode 20. This one is called If Everything is Communism, Nothing is Communism. I'm joined today with my co-host Jesse, and our special guest Rick is back again from the Wise Guys. I will once again put a link to his channel in the comments or description or whatever the hell I did last time. And before we start, I'm going to hand it over to Jesse for our book of the week. Go ahead, Jesse.
Hey guys, this week's book of the week is a book called The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates, renowned journalist for The Atlantic. And is a narrative that reflects his visits to Darfur, Senegal, Chapin, South Carolina, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. Highly recommended. It is got some pretty insightful um, narrative in there, and particularly the essay that he puts in near the rear called The Gigantic Dream, where he speaks about Jim Crow style apartheid in Israel. So that's it. Book of the week, guys.
Very cool. And I think it's pronounced Israel for Senator Ladybugs, who's no longer with us. In honor of him, we'll say Israel and talk about ladybugs and give
Which,
him.
way to go, dude. Did you see how he went?
No.
They finally got a diagnosis.
Oh yeah.
Aortic dissection, which means his aorta just in his chest on its own, under its own pressure. John
Cool.
Ritter died the same way.
That's pretty
I had a
cool.
friend
Scary
that
as shit.
I had a friend that actually happened to, and somehow by the grace, they they saved her life, and they like put a pig organ in there and like replaced her aorta.
I've heard of that. She's a
Younger
pachyderm now,
people
huh?
can make that. Older
Well,
people can't do it this so much.
well, rest in piss to that
Rest
old
in
man.
piss.
Let's have a moment of silence for all the lives he ruined, all the money he gave away to Israel. Anyway,
There's my silence.
Yep.
jumping on into it. Again, this episode's called If Everything is Communism, Nothing is Communism. So lately I've noticed that no one really argues politics anymore. We argue labels. Communist, fascist, socialist, Marxist, Nazi, patriot, traitor. The funny thing is, if you ask 10 people what any of those words actually mean, you'll most likely get 10 different answers. Somewhere along the way, we stopped debating ideas and started throwing insults. And while we are busy calling each other names, someone else is making money. Someone else is writing the laws, and somebody else is shaping the country. And that's what this episode is about. Because if everything is communism, nothing is communism. So before we really jump into it with our first talking point, I think it's important that we throw out some fucking definitions for you people out there. I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but we're going to do it anyway for those of you who don't. Capitalism. The definition is private ownership of businesses and investment for profit. Socialism. Social or public ownership slash control of some or all productive resources with many different models. Communism. It's a classless, stateless society envisioned in Marxist theory, with historical governments often describing themselves as communist, but they operated completely differently. And fascism. It's an authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology that suppresses opposition and concentrates power. It's also a far-right extremist ideology. Got to throw that out there too, because I hear that word going around both ways, and it's like, anyway. So for our first talking point, guys, we have replaced ideas with buzzwords. Politics used to be about arguing over ideas, and now it's about winning the comment section. Everything you don't like is socialism. Everything you disagree with is fascism. Everything the government does is tyranny. Everything corporations do is capitalism. We stopped asking, is this a good idea? Instead, we ask, what label can I slap on it? That's not political discussion, that's branding. So, my question to you guys, what's a political word that gets thrown around all the time, but almost nobody bothers to define? And how has that affected real conversations?
Well, anti-Semitism comes to mind, anti-Semite.
Yeah.
And that's one just because of my advocacy for human rights that, I've been called a number of times just for, I don't know, pointing out that the Leahy law is being broken, like we shouldn't be giving money to a genocidal state by our own laws and international laws, uh, and all the horrific fucking things that I just point out that the blue and white state and the Levant continue to do to all of their surrounding neighbors. Keep in mind, my best friend is Jewish. She's the one that gave me that book that I recommended to you, not the Israel my parents promised. Um, and I mean, it's been thrown around so much, particularly in the last 3 years, to shut down conversations because it's worked so well in the past uh, by creating this false narrative of victimization that it has no more meaning anymore. So people really are like the victims of anti-Semitism and I don't know, a lot of societies around the world, but nobody is nobody pays attention to it anymore for the pure fact that they've cried wolf so much that it has just made the accusation itself what's the word for it? It's just null and void.
Definitely lost its credibility there. Rick?
Socialism. Just flat out socialism.
Yeah.
I see people just screw that up, get corrected, and then continue to screw it up. But the younger generations, it's not clicking with them. They're not afraid of the Cold War and shit anymore, like the boomers are and stuff. So call them a socialist. They don't take it all sensitive like so. Right
Well,
on. I hope they take it back.
it's because they're socialist, communist, Democrats, right?
Right.
That's a
For
weird fucking
everything.
combination. Yeah, it's a strange one.
Right.
I see it a lot. I see it a lot. It's like, what the fuck are you trying to say right now? Yeah. So moving on, I appreciate your answers, guys.
Oh shit, 420.
Somebody profits from keeping us confused. And here's what fascinates me. While we're busy arguing over labels, healthcare gets more expensive, housing gets more expensive, education gets more expensive. Corporate profits, they keep growing. Political fundraising never seems to slow down. Media companies make money from outrage. Political campaigns make money from fear. Somebody is doing just fine while the rest of us argue over memes. So, guys, who benefits the most when Americans spend more time fighting each other than questioning the systems around them?
I mean, just corporate
Thought I muted the
America.
microphone. Sorry for the
Yeah,
cough.
no, corporate America and the shareholders. Uh, I mean, not only they're picking our pockets every turn through gas gouging, grocery gouging, healthcare gouging, uh, you know, the insurance game. They're the ones that benefit and they keep us distracted. At the end of the day, you take all the buzzwords out of it. I could have a conversation with a far right winger, and he can agree with me on a lot of issues. As long as you don't use certain buzzwords, then they'll agree with the ideas of some forms of socialism and what have you. But the moment you put those buzzwords back in there, corporate America, you know, they say Democrat or Republican, that there is no left when it comes to American politics. They're the ones that are benefiting because they're the ones that are getting the goddamn stock tips and doing the insider trading.
Very good answer. Rick?
I got nothing to add. I mean, every time he brought up a point, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll talk about something else. And then he brought up the other point. I got nothing. That was good. That was a really good
I
No
think
notes.
um
10 out of 10.
I think it's important to point out that a lot of Americans think that they're stakeholders when they're not, and a lot of Americans who say that they are anti-capitalist are stakeholders. And it's strange how that ignorance is played out on both sides of the envelope there. It's really strange happenings, guys. So
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong though. I mean, because you look at um, that's kind of to my point of there is no left. There's centrist and then there's far
mhm,
right. But look at Silicon Valley. All of those guys in Silicon Valley champion themselves as philanthropists and human rights champions. Yet their innovation is denying, proper pay to the working American. They're destroying American uh, rural life by their fucking with their data centers and this project or that project that wipes out swaths of hundreds and hundreds of acres of protected wildlands. You know what I mean? So they're they are exactly that. They're capitalists. They're not leftists. They're not humanitarians. They're not human rights advocates. They're none of the above. Otherwise, their actions would be very different than what we see every single day.
absolutely.
I don't know. I like what you said. There's just far right and then there's centrists. Like I don't feel like some far leftist. I'm not trying to burn everything down for communism. I just want health care for my neighbors, right? Like I don't feel like that should be too difficult in our country. And yet I feel like again, it's just this Overton window here is just so one extreme or the other. You know what I mean? So you can't get health care, you can't get education. If we nationalize grocery stores, that's straight ass communism. But hey, if we nationalize gas, that's that's patriotism,
Yep.
right? It's just I don't know. I don't play this game anymore. It's stupid.
Yep.
Someone pointed out to me in a conversation recently, it's the pendulum, and unfortunately, the pendulum doesn't stop swinging and go in the center where there's mutual benefit for um, people on the left and for conservatives on the right. It's one extreme, and the momentum goes right past the center, and it's the other extreme. And this is what we've seen over our history, and particularly in the last 40 years with politics, is um, it's left has control of the Senate and the House, and sometimes the presidency, and then it swings to the far exact opposite side of the spectrum whenever it's the next election cycle, the next two election cycles, and the only ones that are fucking paying for all the destruction is the American people with our tax dollars that are benefiting us whatsoever.
We had
But
Ken
there is one
Melton.
thing
Oh,
that does. Oops,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, please go ahead.
It's just important about that pendulum metaphor, which I absolutely 100% agree with. Again, no notes. But there's something I want to add to it is that the pendulum doesn't stop moving until it completely loses momentum in one direction. And that is where I think we are starting to head right now. Because, like I said, the biggest voting block that is building right now is the youth. And I don't think a lot of people's eyes are on it, but they're a lot more motivated than even our generation was when Bernie Sanders was at his peak, right? So I don't know. I'm feeling maybe some kind of way about the future. Maybe getting my counting my hens and stuff before my chickens hatch or whatever, but whatever you yokels say.
Yeah, no one in Bradenton, Florida is a yokel, huh? Ken Melton was on a while back, and he kind of addressed the pendulum. He's like the attitude is swinging back and forth, and he made an interesting point. Um, and whether you believe in white privilege or not, this is a really good fucking example of it. My immediate thought is to, hey, we can stop this pendulum, or we can adjust this pendulum. We can we can move the sway or sway the direction, or we can change the momentum. I think for a lot of people though, they're marginalized, or they're in a position where they're just trying to get out of the fucking way. They don't want to get hit by that pendulum. And I thought that was a really profound point that he brought up. It's really stuck with me. I wrote it down in my book. I was looking for the quote, exactly what he said, but I couldn't find it. I'm not gonna sit there and dig through it. But
I mean, that was a good paraphrase. That's really deep.
yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's a really deep guy. He was a really good guest. I'd love to have him back on sometime. Um, but yeah, it's crazy, crazy.
There's
Anyway.
someone on YouTube. Her name is Tabitha Speaks. She's got really just straightforward from her perspective. I just love the way she's just so genuine when it comes to certain things. And one of the things that she was saying was like with Graham Plattner, and I know y'all probably won't agree with me on this, but there were warning signs, right? Like we can acknowledge there were some warning signs that were overlooked. And I think a lot of it
It's
was
like he had those
because
warnings tattooed on his body.
almost somewhere in there, like this giant symbol of fascism that we saw in the hats of Indiana Jones characters, but we had no idea what they meant. Who knows? But like she started saying like how typical it's really. I'm trying to word this right so I don't get into too much trouble. Primarily melanin deficient communities uh have a faster looking past approach to sins than marginalized communities or people who have felt the pain of broken promises and shit like that. Like, I think that's what happened with Plattner too. I think we were just far too quick to forgive our own, and unfortunately, we shouldn't have been.
Yeah. I saw a satirical article. It was titled Graham Plattner disappointed he removed his favorite Nazi tattoo for this.
At least he can run for a really successful Republican ticket.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, there is that, and I've quoted um, Graham Plattner a couple times on this program,
Hmm.
where it's just like you don't know what you don't know, but I'm not so apt to forgive, um, because the allegations are pretty steep, and if they're concrete enough to where he's not just gonna do like he did with the last allegation and the one before that, and stand his ground, then there is some merit to it at the very least. And for those allegations, I can't abide, because I mean, it's a drastic human rights issue that we deal with, uh, you know, across the world. But I mean, we've seen a lot of it in the military, and a lot of that shit got swept under the rug when it shouldn't have. And I've seen careers and lives destroyed because of it. And good Marines were were essentially silenced for trying to do the right thing by our code of ethics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they protected the guilty instead.
I've seen a lot of
An old boys
conservatives.
club still is.
Yeah, yeah, that's America though. That's most of the world though, unfortunately. I've seen a lot of conservatives arguing about or bringing up Graham Plattner and saying, when Democrats are all up in arms about, a conservative who's got SA charges or accusations against them, they're all up in arms and they don't shut up. But when one on their own side appears, they're all quiet. And it's like, well, you're not entirely wrong, except for they didn't make him the fucking president. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so
I think that's a false equivalence. I think there are
uh,
people because I lost subscribers on my channel for it. 20 people like bounced on me.
oh yeah.
But like at the same time, like he's he was overwhelmingly lauded, right? It just everything turned overnight. The minute the this got out, that was it. I
Yep.
mean, he started losing donors, he started losing support, he started losing followers on all of his social media plan. That sounds stupid, but in this day and age, that's kind of it's politics,
Yeah, it matters.
unfortunately. He just
Yeah.
everything just started falling out underneath him. That did not happen with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That did not happen with what's his nuts who's going up for Texas right now. Is it
In
Paxton,
Paxton.
right? Right. It did. They circled the wagons.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. And every single time it's a whataboutism, like, well, what about that guy? It,
It's just a straw man
I don't know. I
argument.
think the response on Plattner has been, while there are some, it has been far more overwhelmingly against him
Yeah.
than circling the wagons the way Republicans do. So I don't know about all that. I will go to the mats on that one.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that kind of leads into
I
the
don't even like Democrats.
I'm not a fan of Democrats myself. I think everyone knows where I stand. If they've watched one episode of this show, they know that I'm neither a fan of Democrats nor Republicans, nor conservatives nor
You know, I'm
liberals.
so fired up against the Democrats right now. It's
Yeah,
not even funny.
yeah,
The way they're acting with these DSA people sweeping down ballot races. They've got
yeah.
a populist momentum in their way, and they're like, you know what we need to do? We need to get out in front of this.
That did it to Bernie
We
too. I
can't
mean,
let this. Right. That's what I'm saying. We can't let this happen. Well, we
yeah,
could win if they keep this bullshit up.
yeah. Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton, they were the biggest culprits in 2016, and now
Right.
everyone else has followed suit. So. Kind of leads into our next topic, which is America has always been terrified of the wrong thing. Every generation has something to fear: communists, immigrants, terrorists, crime, the other political party. Sometimes those fears are based on real problems, and sometimes they're exaggerated, sometimes they're manufactured. Fear is one of the oldest tools in politics because frightened people don't always stop to ask who is holding the flashlight. So, looking back through history, guys, what political fear do you think was exaggerated the most? And what lessons should we take from that today? Because I got a really good one for this, but you guys go on for it.
Lawn darts.
My brother got hit in the head with a lawn dart when he was a little like 4 years old or some shit. So the threat is real. Maybe
I'm
Well, I
that's why
sorry.
mean,
that's why he's
That was
MAGA.
you just say
flight of fancy, my friends. I'm sorry.
every generation, it was your list is pretty damn comprehensive when it comes to American history because it was the Native American, the savage, and then it was in the turn of the uh, 20th century, the black man and the Mexican, the xenophobia, and and then it in the 50s and 60s, is McCarthyism. But I'm seeing essentially, along with terrorism from the 80s until now, a resurgence of almost every one of these accusatory labels that are being mainly recycled by the right and the far right. Um, to the point to where I mean it's they don't even it's not even a new playbook. They're just dusting off the old one from the 50s, It's like everyone's a communist and they're trying to wrap everyone up and defame them or book them on false charges when it's like sorry bud, like we live in America, it's freedom of speech and there's nothing that I'm doing that warrants my arrest. And if you, like Lou said, if you come, you better come correct. You better
Yeah,
have a warrant. Because if you don't, well, then you're violating my civil rights, and then I'm going to sue you into oblivion. But even if you do have a warrant and it's proven to be on false charges, I'm also going to sue you into oblivion. But the communism is the one that I'm seeing the most of here lately in the news and on social media. It is completely unwarranted because back to the intro, they don't fucking know what it means.
Yeah.
They have no clue what the actual definition of communism is.
Yeah, my go-to was terrorism within and without. I was thinking immediately I went to 9/11 and to the Islamophobia that this is still growing today from 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It's getting more and more compounded to the point where, everyone's main complaint about Mamdani is that he's a communist, first and foremost. And then they talk about how he's responsible for 9/11. And, they're like, how could they vote for this man when he's responsible for he was 10 fucking years old. What are these people talking about? That was my go-to, xenophobia and just passing the buck off of for shit we are responsible for whether anyone
100%.
yeah whether anyone wants to admit it or not, we are responsible for that. We are responsible for pretty much every one of those things that I my little comprehensive list, as you put it. I mean, everything that's there is an American problem because of America. It's just the fact of the matter. Rick, what you got, man? The question was, looking back through history, what political fear do you think was exaggerated the most, and what lessons should we take from that today?
Oh boy. It sucks because the one that comes to mind is still being used. And it's not just the xenophobia, it's like anti-Islam in general. And like some of the nicest, most peaceful people I've ever met have been Muslim in Indonesia, you know. People don't realize it, but that is like the highest concentration of Muslim people in the world. They think of Saudi Arabia and shit like that because that's where the head goes, but they don't realize how much of the world is actually. And then I remember looking back at all the nice Christians in my community who were sleeping with each other and just doing awful things behind one another's backs and then
Yeah.
shaking hands in the pews and smiling and hugging and then talking shit about each other behind each other's backs in the restaurant afterward. And it was just like that was a very easy thing for me to see at a young age.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I could just see that dynamic. I didn't need anybody to tell me like there was clearly something off here.
Yeah.
And
Hypocrisy
then I just
glows, man.
started, what's that?
Hypocrisy glows. We all see it. It's hard to
Oh,
miss.
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think honestly Islam and in general religion, I think both of those
Hmm.
probably have been completely misconstrued for so many buddy or so many so many people's agenda rather than actual dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no nuance to anybody's discourse when it comes to that kind of thing anymore. And that's a problem. That's a problem. The minute you hear Muslim, you either picture something in your head or you don't. And that's the type of American we have in this world right now. And the something that these people picture is never a positive caricature.
Yeah. I spent quite a bit of time in the Middle East, and I would say in Iraq. Just use it for an example. The Iraqi people were some of the kindest people I've ever met in my life. They had hard lives and they worked hard for everything that they had. Um, but they were kind, they were generous. I can't tell you, like when we would be searching door to door and kicking doors down and shit. We would knock first, and if they don't answer, we'll kick it down. They always answered. And if it was Ramadan and the moon was up, man, they fed us. Like we would be on a foot patrol and we'd go into a house to search it, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're coming here," and they would stuff food down our throats. I mean, it was so fucking good too. Even if they didn't want us there, they made sure that we were fed and watered, and we met hospitality everywhere we go. We went. Yeah, I'm sorry, everywhere we went. Furthermore, I had some of the most deep philosophical conversations with some Iraqi people. About life, about politics, about, everything that was going on. And I've told a lot of people this, and they're like, "Oh, you weren't in the Marines." Yeah, I've actually been called, my service has been called fake before because of this point of view that I have. And it's like, well, the Iraqi people, I never fought the Iraqi people. I fought the Mujahideen, which, like I
Right.
said
And there's
earlier,
no,
was an
when you don't
American
have
problem.
nuance there.
Yeah, we created the Mujahideen, like in
Right.
its modern sense. We made it. It was an American problem that America started. Oh, my light went off. And it was just
Mine's
something we were
flickering, so you're
having to
good.
deal with. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, man, that Islamophobia is a real problem. And the Islamic people, the Muslims that I've met, they are just really good people. I've met
No,
some
I
Christian extremists. I have clan members in my family. A lot of Christians would say that they're not real Christians, but you go tell them that and see what they say.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I try and say, go to a Nazi rally or something and call them a bunch of libtards. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. I guarantee the KKK, the modern like version of the KKK, go in there and call them soy boys.
Yeah.
I want to see the reaction from every single one of those people the second that happens.
well, these are people that I really don't have. I don't think hold any credibility whatsoever.
Hmm.
Particularly if they're going to come with an accusation to question your military service. You've never been to the Middle
You don't
East.
know anybody. Yeah.
You've never stepped foot in a fucking mosque. You can't even name five Muslim people. You know what I mean? And you're labeling an entire 2 billion people, 2 billion
They know a Muslim,
people.
they say Obama.
Hussein
Yeah.
Obama.
But I mean, it's just it's asinine
Yeah.
that but to the point that, again, like they have zero credibility. So and I'll ask him, like, do you even know a Muslim? Have you ever been to a mosque before? It was like, because I have, and I've been there during Ramadan, and
Yeah.
guess what, they fed me like a king. you
Yeah.
know
My
I
brother
still
argued it with me, telling me that all Muslims were savages who live in mud huts and or they're all murderous. And it's like, bro, I've been to 7 Muslim nations. You've barely left the South. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck off with your bad ideas. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry, continue.
now I mean, I've got a lot of Muslim friends here in Chattanooga area, and I have dinner with them probably about once a month. And one in particular, she's married to a Christian man who was a doc in the army. So like we share our military experiences and break bread and everything, even though he's a little bit religiously fanatic, um, even in comparison to his jihadi wife, you know, which it's not. Like, they're the most peaceful people I've ever met in my life. This because I looked past my former views and then indoctrinated uh, those indoctrinated talking points, and actually spoke with the person, looked at him as a human being, and just let them tell me what they had to say, and that changed my perspective. And
I actually know some people in Chattanooga who are Iranian. It's a family with well, the woman that I know, her name is Sapira, and I guess her sisters, they're like all physicians and stuff, like they're all contributing to their society and communities in freaking awesome ways. The parents who came from Iran are just wonderful people.
yeah, I mean, I've had conversations with guys at the watering hole about the whole Iran deal, and they're like, "Well, it started in '78." It's like, it actually started in '54. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "We overthrew their democratically elected prime minister Mossadegh." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "And we did it for oil."
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
because
know, but
my man nationalized oil and made it patriotic. Exactly what we're doing right now.
Well, you
imagine
have to
that.
go to liberal, America hating college to learn that kind of stuff. Soy boy. And
Are you wearing a dolphin shirt, by the way, in Chattanooga?
Yeah, actually,
oh,
that was my first job out of the Marine Corps. I worked for the Miami Dolphins.
You, sir, have cojones. That
I
is
like
very cool.
I'm a
I
Ray
love my
Finkel
Florida
fan.
football teams.
I, I'm still a Saints fan, and I'm back to Dirty Birds. I'm from south of Atlanta.
Who do you think you are?
I'm, I'm a Renaissance man.
That's a good segue to our next topic. It's branding. But
Sorry about that. That was I don't know
you're
how that worked
good.
out as well.
We've um we've forgotten the difference between patriotism and branding. I love this country, and that's exactly why I criticize it. As Marines and a corpsman, we didn't swear an oath to a president. We didn't swear an oath to a political party. We swore an oath to the Constitution. I find myself saying this in so many episodes, and it's like it's feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but so many people don't understand that. None of those are the same thing. Somewhere along the way, patriotism became performative. Flags got bigger, conversations got smaller. So, you guys, what's something you've criticized about America because you wanted it to be better, not because you hated it?
Ooh, the military-industrial complex.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
being, and I've had a lot of conversations with friends about this, and particularly my conservative friends that don't necessarily understand what it is. They just think military, we're there for defense. I'm like, that's not really the truth. We don't have 800 military bases around the world to defend our freedom. Like we have more bases around the world than we do on our own borders, protecting our own borders. You know, with the intel that we get from the U.S. Southern Command, at one point we knew we're almost 100% of the drug boats and the human trafficking and the illegal weapons were coming into the country, but we only had the funds. They were only funded our actual borders to stop 10% of it. So that's the big red fucking flag for me. You know what I mean? If we just knocked out, I don't know, like 600 of those bases over there, we could appropriately man our borders to stop those kind of threats from coming in. But that's not why we're there. And the reasons we are told that we go to war, not really the reasons we go to war. We think this, we're brainwashed to think this and indoctrinated that we're defending freedom and we're standing for human rights. But like I've witnessed human rights violations and the lawyers swept it under the fucking rug. I've got the
yeah,
video. You know what I mean? So when I talk to these people, I'm like, I think you have the wrong idea about what we're actually doing around the world. It's not defense of the American way of life or idea, unless that way of life is specifically concentrated to for capital gain. You know, if that's the only metric, if that's the only thing worth defending, then yeah, we're defending American freedom and human rights. But we're not.
yeah. We're defending
We defend
subjugation
our
for cheap
interests and
imports.
property.
Yeah, exactly. Getting those cheap imports, defending the oppression and subjugation of entire fucking countries.
Through a way of
Right.
extortion.
Yeah. Rick,
Mm. You started talking about the military industrial complex and completely forgot the question. Because
what's
that was
something,
beautiful. That was such a good
yeah,
rant.
what's something you've criticized about America because you wanted it to be better, not because you hated it?
Honestly, just patriotism in general. When it became when it metastasized into feckless jingoism, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I was a kid, it was never like this. There was the tribalism wasn't like this ever. And I remember you when you were a patriot, you flew your flag, but it was on the 4th of July, right? Like it was the 4th of July and you had fireworks, and then that was like it. That was like your thing. That was what patriotic people did. Nowadays, it's just anybody who comes out of the military is a hero. Well, I'm gonna share a little anecdote with you. I went to Red Robin. This shit eats me apart. I'm sorry. I actually hate the fact that I did this. I went to Red Robin and I heard these two guys talking. It was right when we started striking Iran. And these two guys started talking and they were saying like, "Man, what if we can get democracy in there and stuff?" And just, the typical thing that you heard about Iraq,
Yeah.
before we went guns blazing on that. Um and I couldn't do it. I had to walk over and be like, "Gentlemen, this is shit. This is a shit war. We shouldn't be here." And like one of them kind of gave me that weird look, and I was like, "Look, I'm a veteran. This is just making the same messes and mistakes that we were making before. It's kicking the same hornet's nest just in a different tree. And these are stronger and they're more patriotic and they're more ingrained." And I was like, "Everything about this war is shit." And I swear to God, these guys had nothing to say, and all they did was repeat, "Thank you for your service. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service. Thank you for your service." And I was like, "Dude,
They're a bumper
what
sticker.
is going on anymore?" It's like there's nothing there
Yeah.
anymore. Like, what if I got kicked out of the military? We had a guy who was going in through our barracks. He got kicked out because he was sneaking into the females' rooms and essaying them. And he got captain's mask, got his ass kicked out. He served. You gonna thank him for his service? Never deployed. All he did was actually abuse people during his time. And that's the thing. There's no question there. They forget that we're human beings
Yeah.
that join that, and it's just so I have a hard time trying to separate my thing from Jesse's military industrial complex because they're intertwined. They really are. I think. And it's just this we've really sickened ourselves when it comes to a lot of the jingoist nationalist bullshit. We have forgotten what is more important in this world, and that's our communities and those in our communities, and not the laws that dictate those communities.
Yeah. You
This
know,
is the
oh, go ahead.
I didn't stand up in grade school every fucking day and recite the Pledge of Allegiance and say for liberty and justice for all for fucking just white people or
Mhm.
just fucking, just American people. Justice for all means for all.
Absolutely. I have to reference one of our this previous video I made, I think it was last year, I put it up. It's called Patriotism Without Blinders, Without Blindness. I think it was Blinders. Anyway, again, as usual, I was very drunk when I wrote it and when I spoke it, but I've watched it since. And I said something that I'm surprised was as profound as it was. I went on about the difference between patriotism and nationalism and how nationalism is saying we're at the best we're going to be. Stop asking questions. Patriotism is admitting that we have issues, we have problems, and critiquing them and trying to make it better. Maybe we can't directly make it better, but we can vote to make it better. We can come on platforms such as this and speak our minds and tell everyone else how we can all collectively make it better. Um, the bumper stickers, the flags, the performative bullshit people are doing today is not patriotism. Those guys just saying thank you for your service over and over. That was all nationalism, every fucking bit of it. To the point where that's what I said, they're just bumper stickers, and that's what reminded me of it. They've kind of lost the plot, so to speak. And I don't think if you told them that they're nationalists, I don't think they would understand what that means. Back to the intro, it's another one of those buzzwords that they know it has a negative stigma, But if you say you're a nationalist, they're not gonna know what the fuck you're saying. They're just gonna be like, man, fuck you, and try to pull their dicks out and assert dominance in some weird way. Like that's all they know how to do. They don't even know what they're fucking doing, but they will thank you for your service profusely without making an actual credible argument. And like it's not compelling whatsoever, but they'll tell us we're jackasses and we're uneducated and we need to go read a book or whatever the fuck, like
Right.
nonsensical fucking jibber jabber they want to throw our way. It's like they are straight up fucking nationalists. They think that their way is perfect. There needs no to be no questioning. Like, why question what's already great again? MAGA. Why question any of that when we know what it is? We know what it can be. And constitutionalism, that's not what it is. And as I said in that video, constitutionalism isn't an acceptance of what is. It's a fucking goal that we set for ourselves. We set the bar with the Constitution. We're down here. We need to strive to be up there. We're never going to
Can I
reach it.
piggyback off of you for a moment?
We're never going to reach it, but that's our goal. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking because, like, if you look at it from the other opposing view, that makes perfect sense as well. The exact same way that you're saying it. That's why I got all excited and I interrupted you again. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I don't care.
But if you look at it even from their lens, from their framework, if everything is perfect as is right now, then anybody who is trying to change it is a threat. Right? So exactly what you said. It is not the fact that America can be amazing, and the whole point of our Constitution was meant to change with society and evolve and grow with us. Because I guarantee in 100 years, the three of us are just going to look like just racist assholes, and we love everyone. But
Well,
but
Jesse is now.
honestly, but in all honesty, if we honestly think about this, that is the best definition that I think that any of us could have come up with. Because you're right. It's not so much that you love your country that it's better than anybody else. You love your country to see the flaws and say that it needs changing.
Yeah. Strive to be better. That's the name of the
Right.
game. That's what the
You
Constitution is
nailed it with
for.
that, man. Good
Well,
call.
I would recommend going to watch that video. I think it's only like 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes long. So if you or anyone watching hasn't seen it, it's loaded. It's not in our shorts. It's an actual video. And it's doesn't have an episode number. It's just called Patriotism Without Blinders, and it's a goat sitting in a bar drinking as the as the thumbnail. Because as I said, I was pretty fucking drunk when I wrote it and recorded it. But it's good, and I was actually pretty coherent when I read off the script that I wrote, and
So eloquently belted out,
huh?
America. When you so eloquently belted out,
Yeah.
America.
That's if I ever lose this book that I write in, whoever finds it's gonna be like, what the fuck is these crazy rants and like there's poetry and all kinds of dumb like just quotes and all kinds of
Hey,
crazy
stop
shit in
that.
this.
Stop that. Stop that. You said dumb. Erase that. Start over.
Well,
There's
whoever finds
nothing
this
dumb in
is
there.
gonna
That's your
be
flight
pretty
of fancy, bro.
they're gonna be
That's your book of
scared.
brain.
This is like my this is if I ever get framed for something by our government to make me disappear, they're gonna call this my manifesto. We found his manifesto. He likes James
How do you
Baldwin.
how would you feel if that's what they did?
I have Malcolm X quotes in here. I got all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, but
Man,
what about the other parts
as long as
that
I
they would
get a
actually put on the news?
as long as I get a platform and I could say what I said in the video that I was addressing a second ago, patriotism without blinders. As long as I could say what I said in that video on any kind of public platform or just let people know, then it is what it is. I hate that my loved ones would suffer for it, but this is America. I love America. I don't mind sacrificing myself for it any more than I did when I enlisted. I would hate to. I'm not eager to, but I'm an American and I don't belong anywhere else on this planet. So to kind of be like, oh, I'm not willing to give up anything for this country. This country has given up a lot for me. Our forerunners, they gave up a lot for us. I am able to say all of the things that I'm saying because of those who came before us. And their ideals, while they may have been different, it was only because of the time, the era, and the happenings in the world that they thought different than I am. I'm pretty sure the majority of our founding fathers thought similar. Not obviously, not, I don't think the same as most of them because I don't believe in owning people, but yeah, and raping said people, but um. I do feel like I'm willing to make certain sacrifices for my beliefs as an American. And I don't think most are. January 6th was not a sacrifice. Those people building effigies and gallows out in front of the Capitol building. That wasn't a sacrifice. Them going to jail was a sacrifice, but they fucking bitched out of that. And now they're getting money for it.
Right.
They sacrificed for their beliefs and then they just whined the whole fucking time. And now they're out with pardons and getting money and all kinds of other shit. That's not a sacrifice. They didn't sacrifice a fucking thing. Those of them that were veterans sacrificed at one point in time, but they got muddled. Their ideals got muddled in the confusion, or they misunderstood why they were going. To bring up another video that I made, it was what we take into war. It was a war poetry, I think. The it was a short that I made a long time ago. It was basically what you take into war with you is amplified. And if you go in with hate and anger and misinformation, disinformation, and just prejudice, that's what you're going to come back with, just amplified tenfold. If you go in with love and poetry and philosophy and understanding and compassion, those things will be compounded in the same way. It's not going to have a great effect on you because living in this reality, does things contradict pretty hardcore, and you're going to be hurting just as equally but in a better way, I feel like. I mean, you'll be in a better frame of mind at least, and you'll be a better human being. So, anyway, that's my little rant. Sorry, guys.
No, you're all good.
So, if you guys are ready to move on to our next talking point, I've been talking a lot this episode. Sorry about that, but
I like your
Americans,
sultry voice.
yeah, you like my little southern twang that comes out when I drink.
Oh,
It's never there until I drink. I left
oh,
I
Right.
left when I was 16, 17 years old, and I'm 42 now. And most people wouldn't assume that I'm from the South until I'm drinking around them, and then I'm like, "Hey, y'all." So
you're
Amer
sexier than a rooster with socks on.
y'all want to see my ladybugs? All right, our next point. Americans already live with collective investment. This is where people usually get uncomfortable. Military healthcare, public schools, fire departments, roads, libraries, the GI Bill, Social Security, police, the interstate highway system. Americans rely on publicly funded institutions every single day. Nobody calls the fire department socialism while their house is burning down, right? We tend to judge ideas by the label before we judge them by the results. So, why do you guys think that Americans often react to political labels more emotionally than they react to whether a policy actually solves a problem?
The
This one's
goddamn
a
NFL.
hey, go Fin- go Fins. Nah, I mean, this is a fun one, man. And Rick has just kind of got a point. It's even in professional sports and politics alike, people see these labels as part of their identity, and they're not able to set that label aside and have a conversation because they feel any counter to that is a personal attack on them and their own ideals. So that's you get immediate defensiveness. And it's back to my previous point of why when I have conversations with some of these conservative friends of mine, I don't use the ism words, and I steer away from any kind of political language. And everything you just listed off, public schools, military health care, roads, libraries, Social Security, they want all of those things, even though technically they're a form of socialism, but that is counter to their personal identity. So you can't use those words around them, um, which is fucking baffling to me.
Yeah.
But that's the human psyche, and that's really what it comes down to.
I tried to fight that though. I did. I tried the Socratic method. I tried making them answer those questions for themselves. And even then, I was called manipulative. So they've got these walls that will, yeah, you're
What a
not
cop out.
right. It was I was just like, look, I've got a yes or no question. And then he changed the subject. And I was like, okay, I will answer that, but can you just answer this question first? And then he called me manipulative for demanding an answer. And this is what I just can't take it seriously. I can't. They've got these walls, these shields up against any form of critical thought, even inwardly.
What's your take, Kevin?
You know, where I grew up is I grew up in a Fox News family. Maybe that's why I'm the way I am. I don't think so. I hated it when I was a kid. I remember seeing this stuff and being like, what the fuck is this? The paths that each and every one of our individual lives take lead us to where we are. I remember as a young man, I'm not gonna point out who in my family, but someone very close to me was a Klan member. I learned that they burned down a black church, and their reasoning for it was, I didn't want to do it, but they told me to, and I just wanted to fit in. Um, what the fuck? You know, this is someone I grew up saying I love you to. This is
Groupthink.
this was a family member who I cared greatly for up until they passed away. I remember, there's not many people I've shed tears for, but I actually shed a tear when I heard that they had passed away because they meant a lot to me. But I couldn't stop thinking about that. That was always at the forefront of my mind. It was a very prevalent part of their identity to me. Um, we are by nature extremely emotional creatures. That's all I can really say about it. I talk about my brother and my cousins a lot because that's who I grew up with. I'm sure most people can relate to that. My brother, when I was young, um, I would hear my loved ones drop N-bombs and they would say really hateful shit, man. I mean, I'm talking like really bad stuff, Islamophobic stuff, anti-liberals, anti-democrat, anti-progressive, because those are three fucking separate things. Anti this, anti that, and it was all ideology pushed by emotion. None of it was pushed by logic. None of it was pushed by fact or evidence. It was all emotion. And I brought up being from a Fox News family because they were sued for putting out, I mean, they had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for putting out false information because they were fear mongering. Fear is what drives us. People will believe anything you fucking tell them for two reasons, one of two reasons, because they want it to be real, they really, really want it to be true, or because they're really, really scared that it's true. And that's my answer. It's one of those two. They're gonna react immediately. They're not gonna think things through because of fear or because of hope. And it's crazy that those things are what made our country in the first place. They are the trademark of America. They're fear and hope. People come here for fear of where they're from. They come here for hope of what could be. People leave here for fear of what is and hope of what could be. People leave here for hope. I mean, people come here from hope to send money back home. I mean, there's a million different things, and we're all making knee-jerk reactions based off of it, myself included. And I know you guys can relate to it as well, whether we want to admit it or not. It's just being a fucking American. We all make emotional decisions daily, and it's it's poison, it's toxic, and we were all raised to do so. So that would be my answer. It's I think we do it because we're either hoping it's true or we're afraid it's true. That's where I would come in on it. So you guys have
Oh,
anything else?
I mean, when it comes to that, I can never run for political office because they're just gonna dig up my fucking Facebook post, like to the point to where I was far right at one point, and now I'm far left,
Yeah,
according to some people, and people, close family members, have even told my mother I just had to stop following him or deleted him off my Facebook because he's gone off the deep end, and like this is actually as close to like reality, um, mentally and politically as I ever have been. And if you think that I'm unhinged now, I've got some news for you when you actually learn the truth.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
that's kind of I was more conservative. Shit, I was religious at one point. Like I know exactly what that feels like. So
yeah.
you're not gonna
Bro, I was raised Southern Baptist in the Bible Belt, so yeah. And I was a devout Christian for most of my life. Now,
Mhm.
for another
were
episode,
you or did you just say you were because that's what your parents told you?
I was. And like I said, hypocrisy glows, and that glow pushed me away from organized religion altogether. I saw what they were preaching versus how they were living, and it made me feel like it was all a sham. And then I saw the world, I went to 36 countries and I loved people and I made friends and I had betrayals and I just lived my life. And, we can all only form our beliefs off of our own experiences, and I've experienced a whole fucking lot. So, for another episode, I love Jesus Christ. I do. To this day, I'm not a Christian whatsoever. I don't worship any of it. Jesus was basically a homeless socialist. Like bro was like he was an immigrant, he was a socialist, he hated the rich. Like the guy said basically condemned the rich more than anyone else, more than sinning, more than anything. Like the rich were the evil. He made
If he
that point
wasn't an
several fucking times.
amalgamation of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, there's
we
always
should
that
definitely
argument.
have that episode because I think
Yeah.
that'd be a good one.
I don't think he was the son of God. I think that was put on him by the government of the day. I think that was um just some bullshit that they put out there for
He wasn't killed for his religion. He was killed because he was a threat to the government. Like,
you know,
and people don't understand that.
just like Ma'am Danny is a threat to us. But I want to jump back a little bit and point out that, to what you were saying, Jesse, it's because you have TDS that you feel the way you do. Sorry, I just had to throw it out there. Um, just moving on, unless you guys have something else you want to add. Okay, this is actually our last talking point, so we'll get into this one with the nitty gritty. I'll say that democracy, it only works if we know what we're talking about. And here's the scary part. It's democracy doesn't require everyone to agree. Never has. It requires enough people to understand the actual fucking conversation that they're having. When citizens stop learning, someone else starts deciding for us. That's true whether you're talking about corporations, governments, political parties, or the media. An informed public is harder to manipulate. Maybe that's why so many people seem comfortable keeping us all distracted. So my question to you guys, if every American had to take one class before they could vote, what would you each want that class to teach?
Before I've said, put civics back in classrooms, but honestly, in today's day and age, it would be media literacy. Just
Yeah.
like I'm teaching my mom, like, Mom, this is AI. This is not a real person. This is not a real video. It's the same it's the same concept. And actually, I want to say it's either Sweden or Switzerland, which they require media literacy classes for like sixth graders to be able to differentiate between truth and the false narratives in like American corporate news and propaganda. So that would be where I would start, is getting people educated on how to actually understand the words they're hearing and how to be able to verify if it's true or not, so they can make an informed and educated decision about policies that are going to affect them in whatever capacity they're able to do so, whether it's calling their congressional representatives, showing up to their local, town uh, board member meeting or council meeting or township meeting, and just to be able to differentiate the truth from a lie, really. And I think that we'd be far further down the road if everyone had a little bit more media literacy, and just didn't have those knee-jerk reactions based off of their emotional political identity or whatever. Um, we would have, I don't know, more logic in the world, and I think that's what that would build.
Nice. Thank you. Rick?
Critical thinking
Hey, that was
and
my answer.
debate. Like I know that doesn't I don't want to sound generalized, but like actual philosophy at an earlier age.
Mhm.
Like start introducing that stuff in high school. Because the minute a person can start analyzing something critically and start like parsing out logical fallacy from reality within a split second of decision making, they start making safer decisions for themselves. It's not just like policy, it's not just politics, it's not just, your everyday bills and management of credit and stuff. It's actual survival when you know that you can ask for evidence, that it's okay to follow up on things and not just to accept what you're being told for that face value. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Discourse. I actually have a poster here with a long list of logical fallacies that were identified by history's philosophers, and they're wonderful tools because they keep me from also making the same exact mistakes that I personally despise seeing used against my own points. And I think that would help a lot of people actually own their own positions in a more objective manner. You know what I mean? They're able
Yeah.
to approach life with a better, healthier epistemology than whatever it is that they've seen on a bumper sticker or whatever quick fun thing that Fox News can show you, like a senator throwing a snowball onto the floor of the Congress to show you that global warming isn't happening. It's just all dumb now. They've dumbed down everything. There's no effort and there's no incentive for effort. And that is what worries me.
Yeah. My answer was actually going to be critical thinking as well. Just as we have English that leads to literature, we have math that leads to eventually geometry and calculus, trig. We should have critical thinking throughout our entire education. I took it, well, I remember in fourth grade, we had an entire block dedicated to critical thinking. We focused on it. They taught us about how to start from the bottom up instead of from the top down. Instead of taking it for what it is and then sifting through the bullshit later, you got to figure out what the fuck it is before you can believe it. Media literacy can definitely be included in that, and debate could actually be included in that throughout the years. Just civil discourse should be included in that, and how to keep your calm. I I made a point earlier. I'm a dumbass and I get involved in all kinds of stupid shit on social media. I comment where I shouldn't comment or reply where I shouldn't reply. Yeah, well, it is what it is, But someone was cracking on DEI and they were like, "Where are all the DEI counselors employed nowadays?" And I just pointed out, hey, veterans preference is a form of DEI because it is. It fucking is. And man, oh man, I got jumped on. Like these people are like, I doubt you're fucking ever served. And like my profile picture is of my uniform with all my medals and shit. You can see them very clearly, who I am and what I did. But I got blocked by a couple people because I was talking about, the police state, and they started going off on martial law. I never said martial law. I said a police state. The National Guard is marching through numerous cities. We have secret police who are the ICE wearing masks. They're not secretive if they're wearing, I mean, if they're not wearing masks, they're wearing fucking masks. They're all anonymous. So, we are in a police state. We are promoting a police state. And it seems like the conservatives, the party of small government and minimum government overreach, are all about that shit right now. And they man, they jumped all over my ass. But I really shouldn't have done it. But I was calm and collected, and I was throwing out evidence and facts, and not a single one of them. They were full caps, all typos, telling me I'm a fucking traitor, I'm a piece of shit, I never served. Like they doubted like I'm a liar and I'm a bot. They call me a bot a bunch of times, and it's like you can look at my account and see that I reply to people constantly. Bots don't do that. They'll make a rage bait or a hate bait or whatever kind of bait post just pull engagement for whatever cause, and then they don't reply to anybody. But bot is I mean, that's another one of these buzzwords that we we can include on this. If someone disagrees with you, they're going to call you a bot. And in their mind, even this is the most dangerous part of it. In their mind, it destroys your credibility. And that's not what critical thinking is. That's not what debate is. That's not what media literacy, social media literacy is. That's not what any of it fucking is. So critical thinking keeps the rich rich, or lack of critical thinking, I should say, keeps the rich rich. It keeps the corrupt in power. It keeps just it keeps the status quo. It keeps the world's first trillionaire who was an illegal immigrant and working illegally in our country. It keeps them in power. It keeps them who say that they will match whatever social program to keep, anti-poverty that the union puts out, and then they back down as soon as the UN puts it out. It keeps them in power and it keeps them powerful and it keeps us fucking downtrodden and sad and arguing amongst ourselves, which is not where we should be. So again, sorry for my rant, but both of you gave great answers. And it helps me build on my fucking diatribe. I blame you guys. It's your fault. So with that, unless you guys have anything you would like to add, we'll go ahead and close this out and wrap it up. So, Jesse, do you have anything you want to add to, make a point or anything you want to tell that our audience?
No, the last three answers from us just really solidify why Zach got called a socialist commie by one of his fucking students' parents,
Hmm.
and why I'm a jihadi commie or whatever. No, it's just a lack of critical thinking, man. Right on, and I really appreciate both you guys' answers. And this episode really is just kind of helping clear up the definitions, and that if people even make it through the fucking first part of the segment to understand, um, look past their own identity to see the ways of how we possibly can get past this discourse that we see as a nation and start having conversations again with logic, critical thinking, and get back to being a truly patriotic nation where there is, liberty for justice and for all.
Rick, do you have anything you want to add to wrap this up?
Honestly, I think we covered everything,
Yep.
especially the most important thing. It's just the critical thought. It's just the defining of words. It's the ability to take these meanings and not be so quick with applying them because we've stopped, like you said, having any discussion anymore. We've just been pigeonholing each other and finding boxes to throw one another in. And yeah, I just that's not a healthy democracy at all. There's no dialogue anymore because of that.
Everyone on the Pelelu got good at pigeonholing each other.
Ooh. Oh, also,
You've been cornholing.
this is a bad time to bring this one up. There is a local dude who does a lot of work. This guy.
Surviving
Uh,
Vietnam.
yeah. He has got kind of the same gig as we have, but I haven't seen him online in a long time. But yeah, he's just one of those old guys. If you want to hear stories from a time bygone,
Hit him up. We'll have him on the show. I'll make a good
I'll see what I
episode
can
for
do.
him. Yeah. Send me some info about him and I'll read up on him and I'll come up with something good for him.
Absolutely. I think he deserves
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So with that, this episode was not really about communism or socialism or capitalism. It was about language because words fucking matter. If we can't define, if we can't define the systems we're arguing about, if we can't separate criticism from propaganda, and if we can't tell the difference between patriotism and blind loyalty or nationalism, then somebody else gets to define those words for us. And once somebody controls the language, the conversation is already halfway over. So before you call someone a fucking communist or a fascist or a socialist or a tyrant, take 5 minutes and learn what those words actually mean. You don't have to agree, but you should at least know what you're disagreeing with. That, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us and spread the word. Really appreciate you coming on with us, Rick. And you're welcome here anytime. And thank you very much for your answers, Jesse. As always, you're well informed. You did your homework. Appreciate it, guys. And
Of
with that,
course. Thank
that
you.
is that is episode 20 of Goats and Cookies. Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate you, Kevin. Thank you.